Hi, it's Piotr from Galto Studio, and in today's video I'll show you how to profile an amplifier. There's a lot of different microphones that you can use to profile an amplifier. For example, Sennheiser E906, there's like a Sennheiser 421. But in today's video, we'll be using a basic Shure SM57 because it's a very cheap one and a lot of people has it at home. Another thing that you need is some kind of Reampbox, and in my case I am using Da Capo reamplification box. It's fairly cheap, but it works very nice, so I would highly recommend it. And of course, if you want to make an amp plus cab profile, you need to have an amplifier and cabinet. Additionally, you need to have an audio interface, but unluckily something like this won't work because it has only 2 outputs. So if you don't want to make some fancy routing, you need to have an audio interface that has at least 4 outputs. In today's video I'll be using a Fireface 800 because it's an audio interface in my studio, but as I said, any kind of audio interface that has at least 4 outputs should work. Okay, so once you've plugged your amplifier, your cabinet, next step is to plug a Reampbox, and very important stuff. This isolated output goes with a jack cable to the input of your amplifier, and this balance line input goes from your audio interface in here. So output of audio interface, for example 3 or 4, in my case it's 8.8, you will see it later, goes from audio interface to here. Okay, so output of your audio interface goes to here via XLR. If you don't have an audio interface with XLR outputs, you need to have a different cable, something like this. If the signal is too low, you can control it here via a level knob. Okay, so right now we need to open a ToneX application. Keep in mind that modeling works only in standalone mode. Okay, let's go to Modeler. Welcome to ToneX Machine Modeler. Next, Guitar. And we will focus on amp and cap. No amp, no stomp, amp and cap. And we will be using only one microphone, so keep that in mind. Okay. What the hell is this? Because for me it was a little confusing at first. So you need to select your audio interface in here. Okay, very important. These are the outputs that goes into the monitor left and right. So, for example, in Focusrite is like left and right, the most typical stuff, right? Next up, we have an output from your audio interface. So, in my case, I don't have in here another output. So we need to have, as I said before, for example, output 3 and 4. Okay? And from these outputs, for example, let's say output 3, analog 3. Okay? Let's imagine that there's like a output 3. Okay? And this cable that I showed you before goes from from jack to XLR into the Reampbox, right? So output 3 or any other, in my case 8.8, goes to the Reampbox. Okay. Next up, from Reampbox, we're going to the input of an amplifier. So basically, what ToneX will send that DI signal that goes into the Reampbox, and then it goes into the amplifier. That's the key. Okay. Next up, those are like your inputs, right? So analog 2, for example, in here, analog 2, okay? Analog 2 will be your guitar signal. So currently I'm plugged into my interface into the analog 2 as well. Okay? And this is very important. This is a signal that will go out of your microphone. So what you have on your cabinet is like an input of your audio interface. Yeah. So in my case, I'll be using analog 9. I had to choose another one because you need to use 2 microphones, but we won't be using it, okay? So analog 9 is my only, is the only microphone that I am using. Okay, the most complicated part is done. Let's go further. Okay, so right now I need to set my gains, and you do it by basically moving your gain knob on your audio interface, right? So in my case, please hear the input. Okay, once. Correct. Maybe a little less. Okay, it's pretty much okay. Let's go further. Okay, right now you should be able to hear your amplifier. Okay, let's go further. And very important, as you can see, mic 1 input is high, mic 2 input is non-available. So we need to, because we're using only one microphone, let's do something like this 100% microphone 1. And here. If you don't want to play, you can just use this stuff. Okay, and right now I'll go to the live room and change the microphone, move it a little bit further from the cone, because it's a little too, you know, too nasal, too gritty for me. Okay, so I'll be back in a second. Okay, so I've changed position a little bit. Okay, right now we are not trying to make like the best profile possible, but you know, I'm just trying to show you like the bare bones. It works pretty much okay. Keep in mind that this has to be correct, right? Okay. A little more. And you can control it either by like loudness of your amplifier, but you know, it might get a little too loud, for example, at home for home use, or by input of your microphone. Okay, let's say that this is a tone that I like, and let's go next. And right now, the ToneX will send to the Reampbox the signal that will capture the amplifier tone. Okay? That's right. Okay, so the basic capturing is done. All right, now we need to go to the accuracy level, right? Training. And to be honest, you know, advanced mode is very nice, but it takes a lot of time. So for most cases, default is good enough. You know, let's do it this way. I wouldn't really recommend fast setting, because I've tried it, and between default and fast, there's way more difference than between advanced and default. So I would stay away from the fast and just go to the default. Okay? Next. And let's start the default training. And right now, grab your coffee or like do anything else. It will take a while. See you soon.
One eternity later.
Right now we can compare our real rig with a tone model. and tone model. Okay, now the only thing that's left to do is to go to next. Let's go to something similar to Soldano. Okay, and right now I am saving it as SLO 100 1960A because it's a Marshall, right? Okay, description, Galton Studio, amp name, so I'll say SLO 100, amp channel overdrive, high gain, or maybe drive, high gain, okay, drive. Cab name, Marshall 1968, 4x20, microphone, Shure SM57. And that's pretty much it. Save and go to player. And here we go. We have our tone. Right now we need to fix this stuff because it has to be at 5. Okay, right now let's save a preset. Let's go here. I'll save it as SLO 100 1968 OD, for example. Here we go. And right now we have it in our presets with those settings. Okay, let's hear how it sounds. Thanks a lot for watching, I hope you found it useful, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them. If you want to buy any of my profiles, here's a link below, and see you in the next tutorial. Bye bye!